The Clyde One Super Scoreboard Podcast with Luker's Land Rover. The big event is on now with exclusive discounts on approved used Land Rovers. Scottish football's league leader. This is Clyde One Super Scoreboard.
What a day it was already at Ibrox. What a day it's been, I should say. And the phone lines are here. We open them early on days like this. So what did you make of it? The question doesn't need to be any more pointed than that. What did you make of it? 0141 951 1025. We are here until 6 o'clock. We do also have other big games as well, so we'll try and work our way through it all and spin a number of plates at once. We'll hear from Ange Postecoglou and Michael Beale as well. None of you got it right, did you? Two of you went for narrow Celtic wins. One of you went for a narrow Rangers win. Give us a quick ACCA then on these 3 o'clock games.
I'm going to give you Hearts to beat Hibs, Aberdeen to beat Ross County, Kilmarnock to beat St Mirren, and Livy minus Holt, Pittman and Newbley draw with Motherwell.
I'm going to go for all home wins. So Hearts will beat Hibs, Aberdeen will beat Ross County, Killie will beat St Mirren, Livingston will beat Motherwell, and the other game St Johnstone will beat Dundee United.
Hearts Hibs draw, Aberdeen home, Kilmarnock home and Livy home.
Okay, let's get those 3 o'clock games up and running then.
Clyde One Super Scoreboard Goal Flashes with Clyde Built Home Improvements. Trade accounts available now. Call them today.
Let's hope we get as much drama in the 3 o'clock games as we did at Ibrox. Yes, scrappy for some, maybe not the quality some hope, but my goodness, incident packed. 4 goals, a potential VAR penalty decision depending on which side of the fence you sit, and we'll get through it all between now and 6 o'clock. So give us a shout. 0141 951 1025. The open line is here. It is your chance to have your say, so let's do it. We are also working our way through the 3 o'clock games as well, so we'll need to try and balance both up. And you have to say, Hugh, for the first day of the new calendar year, what a football treat we've got overall.
Yeah, the games, we kicked off with Rangers against Celtic, and it was interesting without being scintillating, but very interesting. And the summary of that game for me would be that Ange Postecoglou and his players and the Celtic fans leave Ibrox very happy. They are 9 points in front. With the huge goal difference that they have, they are effectively 10 points in front. They only lost 9 points in all of 2022. So if you think they're going to lose 10 points in what remains of the season in 2023, then you're living in a fantasy. With regard to what comes next, Lee Johnson at Hibs, 8 defeats in his last 10 games. He cannot afford a going over at Tynecastle, but I suspect he's going to get one. Jim Goodwin at Aberdeen, 4 defeats on bounce. He really needs to get the fans off his back and to beat Ross County, the bottom team. He must do that today. Kilmarnock, I think, will beat St Mirren. I think Derek McInnes will gradually get them out of the relegation zone, and I just think that Livy, with the injury and suspension problems that they have, might toil today. And Motherwell, who really need a result, or else you'll be watching your team at Wraith Rovers and Cove Rangers next season, Gordon. They will need to get the finger out. I think that's a draw.
Good afternoon ahead, good games. And got to say, even though the quality might not have been there in the game we just watched, I just found it so captivating. You know, right up into the last moments, these games often serve up drama, and I still thought we got that. Even, like I said, the quality wasn't there. And I'm more surprised at Celtic, the quality wasn't there. We've seen them coming up against, you know, top teams in Europe, and the quality has still been there in terms of their passing and how quick they play going forward. And today it just wasn't there. Rangers, you've got to say, were better in the second half, and maybe that's down to some of the way that Rangers approached the second half. But with this Celtic team, their mentality to grab something at the end where it looked like we all stood here and thought it didn't look like they were going to score, to grab something, it must have felt a bit like a victory for Ange Postecoglou going away from Ibrox this afternoon.
Yeah, but I use the word character for both teams. I thought that Rangers needed a big response after half time, because the Rangers fans were not happy. 1-0 down, Celtic not even playing at their best and still leading at Ibrox. They got that response, and I thought Rangers much better in the second half. 2-1. I said, what does he do? Does he stick with this? Does he try and see it out? I think that was his game plan. Go to character. This Celtic team has got it in abundance. You just knew one chance would fall to someone, and bang, it was in the back of the net. Hugo, that never really seen during the game, never really got involved, but when the big time came up and it had to matter, he was the guy that put the ball in the back of the net, and it's a brilliant point for Celtic.
Okay, no goals to tell you about yet in the 3 o'clock games. I'll keep you right up to speed on them. Let's take our first call of the afternoon. Craig's a Rangers fan from Moodiesburn. How do you look back on it, Craig?
How do I look back on it? A big opportunity missed, not for the title, because that was already gone. Because this Rangers team's going to drop far more points than Celtic will in the running. That's just the way they are. But it was a really strange start to a game. Sorry, I'm just walking to my car now. I was saying to producer, I just ran into the.
Don't you worry.
It's hard to go to the toilet. But aye, it was a weird start. The players started petrified, I thought, which was really strange. It took for the Joe Hart mistake with the pass back to Alfie charged down for us to get going. I've just actually read Michael Beale's comments after the game, which I agree with to a certain extent, but I thought he was really, really, really negative in his substitutions, which compared to the other guy, Postecoglou went 4-2-4 in a game that he didn't have to win. You know, when he was chasing the game, he goes 4-2-4. We take off a attack midfield and put essentially a centre back on, which puzzled everybody around me. The game was crying out for Scott Arfield. The game was crying out for Kemar Roofe, despite not being fit, or Cholak. Morelos was run into the ground, but why on earth he moved Sakala, who was terrorised?
Right, the line's broken up a bit, Craig. I don't know if you're just coming out the toilet on the pub or whatever it was, and the walk back to the car. Let's start in reverse order then. Craig's got a number of bones to pick with Michael Beale, if you like. He felt moving Sakala in the pitch to accommodate Scott Wright was an error.
Yeah, I was surprised at that because of the success that Sakala was having that side against Juranovic, and a lot of Rangers good stuff in the second half came down that side. The one thing I would say, look, when you drop a couple of points in the last few minutes when it's in your grasp, you're always going to get criticised either way. You know, the changes, look, it's easier for Ange Postecoglou to go 4-2-4 when he's coming away from Ibrox with nothing. Throw in a few attackers and change things up. If you're Beale, and there's so much in the balance that we spoke about, that if you win the game you're right back in this title fight, then I can understand why he made defensive changes. Now, they obviously didn't work because they surrender the lead, but it's going to be the case. Rangers fans are going to be hugely frustrated that they thought there was an opportunity to go and kill the game and make it 3-1 rather than sit back and take the 2-1.
It's certainly fine lines. Sorry, Hugh, certainly fine lines, because if Michael Beale, and I do agree, I think he makes a great point about Sakala, I would never have moved him off that position, but I can understand the substitutions in the sense of he was negative, he tried to see out, because if he'd have made positive substitutions at 2-1 and that game would have went against him, he'd have come in for criticism. Why can we not see the game out? We've got the 3 points, we don't need to make it. That's what happened. But you're playing against a team that they know how to get the job done, Celtic, whether they're playing well or not.
I factor in human behaviour. Michael Beale thought, I've got 2-1 here, I've got Celtic, I have questioned their invincibility, I've got 2-1, and he's put on James Sands, a defensive player. My feeling about Sands is he's not a terribly good defensive player. And then all manner of things happened at the goal. Barisic was lacking in awareness of what was going on round about him and played Celtic on for the equalising goal. But I think Michael Beale thought, I can come out here with 5 wins in a row, having beaten Celtic 2-1. This will look really good on my record.
What do you think, Craig? The guys are a bit more sympathetic, understanding Michael Beale's reasoning, but you're not having it?
No, I mean, I do understand what they're saying, but as I say, James Sands, listen, he's not a Rangers player. For me, he'd be back to America in January. Put Scott Arfield on. Scott Arfield's by no means a out-and-out attack midfielder at 33 years old. He could have saw the game out and he would offer something different. James Sands comes on, he's like, pardon the expression, but he's like Bambi on ice. He's given the ball away twice in the opening few minutes of coming on. I mean, what's the point in having Cholak and having Kemar Roofe on the pitch? What's the point in having Kemar Roofe warming up if they're not going to use him? And again, going back to the Sakala thing, Sakala was terrorising Starfelt, and Alfie was running into the ground, put Cholak on. Physical presence. Scott Wright get absolutely bullied by the American, what's his name?
Carter
Vickers.
Vickers.
I just felt the substitutions, but the main issue for me is Michael Beale's talking about taking the handbrake off and going for teams and going for the juggler and all this. It was a very, very negative, and as I say, for me, today wasn't about the title, it was him laying down a marker saying, okay, probably 80% of that team's not going to be there next season, but we can go toe-to-toe with Celtic, which we did. But for me, his subs were far too defensive.
Right, we've got a lot happening because firstly, we've got one of these.
Goal flashes with Clyde Built Home Improvements.
Hearts 1, Hibs 0. It's a big goal in the Edinburgh Derby, and it's Lawrence Shankland. What goal scoring form that man is on. He is in red hot form in front of goal. It pokes in a rebound. Hibs a bit sloppy at the back, and Lawrence Shankland pokes home after a rebound from a Josh Ginnelly effort. We've also had a red card for St Mirren's Ethan Errahon, an off the ball clash with Rory McKenzie. Referee saw it, said it was an elbow, sent him off. VAR checked it, and the red card stands. So St Mirren down to 10 men already, goalless there, and a goal for Hearts in the derby. Exactly the start that Hearts would have been looking for, Hugh Keevins.
Well, for Lee Johnson, it's a nightmare to concede it within the first 10 minutes. And the new Hearts captain, Lawrence Shankland, the very predatory finish from him. It's an awful start, and I can only see it going from bad to worse with Hearts having home advantage. As for St Mirren, the loss of Errahon will be a real problem for them at Kilmarnock. You really need 11v11 at Kilmarnock today, so that's a setback.
Yeah, we've got to say, not ideal for St Mirren to start in that fashion, and it's going to be a long afternoon for them. But it also may be a long afternoon for Hibs. Hugh's right. Lee Johnson is walking a tightrope here, and I say every week, Hibs can't continually sack managers. However, when they go on a run as bad as they have been, then you get borrowed time at this stage, and the Hibs goal that they've just lost is horrendous. If your Hearts, you're delighted, and you can only see more to come the way this game started.
Got to say, a terrific signing for Hearts, Shankland. He's questioned what could he do at that level at Hearts with the expectations. He's stood up to that. He's been absolutely brilliant and terrific for him, because it's not often you see that a manager puts faith in the centre forward to be the captain, the leader. Just now, obviously, I know he's got a big injury, list Robbie Nielsen. Terrific start. Puts a little bit of big bit of pressure on Lee Johnson.
He's just got that knack, Mark. A lot was made about that little spell because he didn't score that many in the Premiership at Dundee United. But United fans, like producer Callum would tell you, they didn't create that many chances when he was there. That's now his 17th goal of the season.
Yeah, I was going to say, you need to create chances for players like Shankland, because he's a penalty box striker who relies heavily on service. Now, when you look at the full Hearts squad, when they've got everybody back fit, you've got to say you've got some options there to play in the wide areas to service a guy like Shankland. Daz is right to give him the captaincy. I never for once thought he was that kind of material, but he must have that influence in the dressing room that Robbie Nielsen thinks this guy is a real leader, and he's repaying the manager.
We saw it earlier, to make very loose, tenuous comparisons, Hugh, but just because the favourites in a derby score early, it doesn't mean they go on and win the game. But there is where the loose, tenuous comparison ends. If you're Lee Johnson, that's just a terrible way to start the game. Credit to Hearts, but you've also played a big part in your own undoing.
Without doubt, the defending is atrocious. They have lost the ball on the line, byline, and that's laziness on the part of the Hibs defender. Then the goalkeeper isn't emphatic enough, and the rebound falls between Shankland and a Hibs player, and you just know that Shankland's going to get there first. So since Wednesday night, Hibs are now 5-0 down. Celtic beat them 4-0 and now they're 5-0 down.
This is a new record for me. We're about 12 minutes in. I've not mentioned Halliday's thatch yet. Hope it's looking okay. A bit of growth over Christmas maybe. We'll keep an eye on it. Some goals in the Championship to tell you about. Arbroath 1 up at Dundee. What a shock that would be. Michael McKenna. And Queen's Park are 1 up as well on Partick. Did I see that? I did. Simon Murray with the goal. Don't forget we've got a penalty for Livy. It was a Montano shot blocked by handball. As you'll find out today, there'll be debates about handball penalties, because there always are. This one is going to be checked by VAR. Montano was incidentally, he was booked earlier for hauling down Paul McGinn on a counter attack, but it looks like a big chance for Livy to go and take the lead there against Motherwell, which would signal some worrying times. It was probably already worrying times for Motherwell, you'd have to say. And football does this to you. A couple of months ago, Ricky Lamy scores at the death. Motherwell qualify for Europe. Livy miss out in the top 6. Fans on the pitch. Ricky Lamy, former Livingston defender of course, is now the man adjudged to have handballed it.
Motherwell on free fall at the minute, Gordon. I'm sorry to say, it all looked so positive when Stevie Hamill got the job.
And former Motherwell defender Nicky Devlin's going to take the penalty against Liam Kelly, the former Livingston goalkeeper. So you see how this is all this is all working.
When you're away to Wraith Rovers next season, do you have my caravan in Amsterdam?
They might get relegated anyway. Gordon.
No, Wraith
I like
Rovers-
Hugh. He has no sympathy for anyone. Just sticking the dagger right in there.
Still waiting. VR is giving it the once over.
I've offered them the caravan for
Is there
nothing.
one
What are you
place
Liam
you don't wanna
Kelly
go?
saves the penalty.
Goal flashes with Clyde Built Home Improvements.
But Devlin makes amends on the rebound. Livingston 1, Motherwell 0.
Got to be on your toes for the rebound, and Devlin is.
That's when you know your luck's out. I mean, nothing going right for Motherwell at the moment. And as I say, this is a Livy side minus Scott Pittman and Joel Newbley and Holt as well.
Is Devlin always the penalty taker?
No.
I mean, he scored last 2 weeks ago, did he, at Celtic Park as well?
Sean
But not for a
Kelly
penalty.
scored a couple and missed a couple.
Missed
didn't
a
he?
couple, so Devlin, have they got no forward-thinking players that?
Does that matter? You took penalties when
I
you were
did,
at
but I was
Dundee United,
exceptionally
right
good
back.
until I got Ian McCall the
Well,
sack with the missed one.
Tavernier takes the
I know.
penalties for Rangers.
Juranovic, just you behave. Come on.
I like a centre forward, but if you're confident enough, but it
Sean,
doesn't
of
matter.
course, would have been up against his brother.
Yeah,
So maybe
yeah.
that was part of the psychology.
Oh yes, damn it. Yeah, imagine
I'd
that,
have
brother
been
v
good.
brother.
Yeah, like the old days in the house.
Don't worry, maybe Wraith will be. They'll be alright. Hamilton Accies, who might not be, by the way, 0. Wraith Rovers 1. Jamie Gullen on 9 minutes.
Red John Rankin
Oh my
saying
goodness,
New
I
Year.
think the goal is being now checked at Livy.
What?
It must have been to see if there was anything untoward in the
Offside.
either the replay or the rebound, or encroachment or whatever. Must have been something along those lines. Both teams are sort of back though in their own half, waiting, expecting it to get restarted with Livy 1 in front, but we'll find out. We'll get to Jerry, who's hanging on the line, in just a second. This is the beauty of a 12:30 Rangers v Celtic game with an open line in amongst games that are ongoing. Please bear with us.
The information at Livingston's coming from David Martindale on the bench with the mic telling them exactly what's
he's on VR the day as well.
The stadium announcer.
He built the bench after all.
Liam Kelly's not happy, so I don't know what he feels has gone on. Eamon Brophy has been sacrificed, if you like, because St Mirren are down to 10. Gogic came on. That Brophy not happy at all.
Well, we go back to Gordon Dalziel's point of earlier in the day about leaving Kyogo on the park for Celtic. You want your goal scorer round about you. Why take off Eamon Brophy if he's your best bet?
I mean, I can see in some places that Livy goal's gone down as a Sondre Johansson own goal. So it must have been an almighty scramble, because there's still no decision yet on whether that goal stands. And again, if you have to look at it for that long, saying that, if you can find any reason to rule it out, I'm all for it. But generally speaking, if you have to look that long, what is it we're looking for? So we'll keep you up to speed on that when we find anything else out. Are both 2 up at Dens?
Wow,
A great start and a shock there. Very big shock in the new year. Airdrie 2, FC Edinburgh 0 as well. Callum Gallagher with the goal. So a few teams starting quickly. Right, penalties to be retaken at Livy.
Encroachment, no,
Well,
or
yeah, listen,
goalie off the line.
These are the ones you would look at for encroachment, because ultimately the ball ends up in the back of the net. So whatever player encroached, did he then have a material impact on the way that the rebound ends up in the back of the net? Those are the things you would
Johansson maybe, who
you
puts
would
it
need
in
to look at.
or was he under pressure from a?
It could be part of the scramble. Yeah. So
Yeah. See, it was it the Rangers one in Fiorentina? Remember where the penalty was retaken and we thought it was for encroachment, and then
No,
you
Napoli.
think
Napoli
was it
didn't play
Napoli? Sorry,
Fiorentina.
Fiorentina. So you think if it was Johansson that encroached?
Liam Kelly saves the second penalty as well. He saved 2 penalties in a row for Motherwell. And I think, unless we're getting another mad scramble, it was the exact same penalty. So it's the mind game, same penalty, same
you go.
outcome.
Devlin
And it's
taking
still level
penalties.
between Livy and Motherwell. What a game, Hugh Keevins.
Yeah, that's a great psychological lift for Motherwell, surely you'll go on and do something, and you won't need the caravan in Anstruther next season.
We'll see. Gordon DL.
Yeah, I think that's just a warning for Motherwell, because that's a difficult place to go. We've got away with one. Got to make sure to capitalise that. We need to get 3 points on the board, Motherwell. I said the other night there, in the full calendar year last year, 7 wins. You ain't going to stay in the league in that sort of form. Hopefully that little bit of luck sometimes just goes for you today. Little bit of change, maybe get out there with a valuable 3 points.
So much action. Let's go back to the phones and bring in Jerry, who's a Celtic fan from Kirkintilloch. Jerry, what's on your mind?
First of all, how you doing, panel? Happy New Year.
Thanks, Jerry. Same to you.
Just basically the incident with Golson with the penalty decision.
Mm-hmm.
Why did it not go to VAR? Why did the ref not go and look at the screen when obviously it's a clear penalty?
Well, I mean, without at the risk of sounding sarcastic, because they don't think it was a clear penalty. I get why Jerry's asking, so that you remind ourselves of the process. John Beaton's on-field decision was no penalty, presumably. Either didn't see it or didn't think it was a penalty. Willie Collum and his assistant VAR would be taking a look, and they then need to decide, do they believe there's a sort of clear and obvious error there? Do they feel the need for John Beaton to come and look at it? And the answer's no. So John Beaton didn't think it was a penalty.
What I don't get, Gordon, is why not allow John Beaton to have another look at it? Send him to the monitor.
Well, that's something you'd need to sort of question at any level of football with VAR. The whole point of it is not that the ref goes over all the time. It's that, if it's a big error, if they feel the ref's made that big error, he can go and get a second look at it. And fine well, once they go and look, they tend to.
Jerry, for what it's worth, I don't even think it was a hard decision to make. I think it was a penalty, an obvious penalty, and why Willie Collum can have all the facilities in front of him and come up with the decision not to award the penalty is a mystery to me, Jerry.
Yeah, Gordon, you agree with Hugh and Jerry?
Yeah, but I don't think you can just put the blame at Willie Collins, because John Beaton obviously is yards off it and decides it's not a penalty kick. I just think with his reaction where his hands goes, Gordon, and we've seen it before, and we've stood here and agreed and disagreed with decisions. I just thought he was very lucky not to concede a penalty kick.
Jerry?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, even when you think about the decisions, I mean, to head, the one I think about is the Burnaby one at Parkhead, and the ref went to the Hingway, and that was never a penalty, but they still went to the screen and they looked and they argued in this and they gave the penalty. You see that one and you think to yourself, what's going on here?
Mark, you're a bit more, you're a lot more actually sympathetic to the decision. You think if that was you, if you were Connor Goldson, you'd feel incredibly hard done by. You're adamant you wouldn't be shouting for that at the other end. You sure?
Listen,
of course you wouldn't, in fact.
I think that John Beaton should have been directed to have another look. I think that's.
But then that means it's getting given, then, doesn't it?
Well, I think that's only fair, because if he's the on-field referee and he's not got a clear a view as Willie Collum did, then it's only right. That's what the technology is there for. Now, having watched it back several times, the only argument for me that it could have been given is Goldson's hand when the ball hits him almost go up the way. Almost like you would see a goalkeeper kind of try to push something away.
That can't be good.
However, but my argument, good save, well away. But my argument would be that his silhouette, he's not made his body position any bigger.
Moves, it doesn't become that much bigger.
Not to stop the ball. The ball's already hit him, I think, in the hands when his hands are in amongst his face, and then move up. Look, I said it again. I would have loved Celtic to be awarded a penalty there. However, I just thought it was harsh.
I understand what Jerry's saying about the Burnaby, and also there's another one involving Matt O'Reilly at Celtic Park earlier in the season. However, you have to forget about them. It was different people working the VAR, different pairs of eyes on the case. In isolation, Connor Goldson today, for me, impedes the progress of the ball, and it's a clear-cut penalty.
A few people tweeted in, Gordon, as well, because of things that we mentioned. Andy says it as well. The ball's heading to goal today. Golden saves it. It's heading towards goal. Given that's been the narrative all season from you and this radio station, that's surely a penalty. I don't think it's my narrative, Andy. That would just be the sort of.
And the thing is about the O'Reilly and Burnaby one, that they were wrong. Those were wrong decisions, and we have argued and we've stood on here and said we could not believe they were given. It doesn't mean then that every other handball should be judged to the same standard. The referees and officials got them both wrong.
I do get why fans sort of get frustrated like that, but Jerry, the reason I would be reluctant, Gordon, because you all agreed Bernaby's was wrong. The difference between those two, if you want to compare them and you still think Bernaby's is wrong, let me underline that for anyone that thinks you're disagreeing. It's a handout by the side. So I don't know. You're trying to be the psychologist for the referee here. Mark's saying he thinks that Goldson's hand is, I don't know, inside his silhouette or whatever, or it doesn't make him that much bigger to block the ball. Bernaby's, the hand was out by his side, even though you lot think that was a mistake anyway. I don't know. Do you have a mind to compare?
No, look, I'm with Mark there when he turns around and says, look, see for just those extra couple of minutes, John Beaton's on-field referee, he sees it, he doesn't give it. Willie Collum obviously in the book doesn't give it. Now if there's any doubt, let the referee, I know what you say, Gordon, usually when they go over there you think, oh, it's a penalty kick. Let John Beaton go over, just take a deep breath and say, yeah, I caught that right. I think that clears everything. I get that, but at the very core of VAR, forget the Scottish Premiership, forget John Beaton or Willie Collum or whoever, at the core of VAR, and you might think it's a subtle thing, but that's not how it's meant to work. Just like, oh well, we'll just see what he thinks. That isn't how it's meant to work.
What I would like to know though, Willie Collum is the most experienced official in the country. I think that if he determines that was not a penalty, then I'd like him to explain to me why it's not a penalty, because for me it's a fairly easy decision to make.
But when you're saying, Gordon, it's not the way it's meant to work, surely everything that's referred to the referee to go and have a look at, it's not to be overturned, it's to give him a better look than he first got.
But yet we know that it is, usually, isn't it? The ref usually goes to the monitor.
But I think we've seen decisions in the World Cup as well that the referees had a look and stuck by his original decision. I just think we get a better outcome if Beaton has a look.
And you know what, we go back to the old argument which never moves on about, it would be nice to just hear an explanation, maybe, would it? Refs don't, some refs have appetite for it, some don't. Do they only explain it when it's a perceived mistake? Because I must admit, right, this had not occurred to me in the slightest. It had not occurred to me in the slightest, and I've seen it a lot of times. Now someone's sending me the clip and saying, does it hit Goldson's foot first, which would then mean that it's not a handball? Does it skip up off Goldson's toe before it hits his hand? And I'm now looking at it thinking, well, I don't think so. I didn't think it did. Then I look.
Did it?
Who'd be a ref? I don't know. You can decide.
I didn't see it myself.
Jerry,
that way.
I'll show you in a second. Jerry, what do you take away from it in a footballing sense? Do you just, is that a good point, so to speak, or?
To be honest, it's probably a good point for Celtic, mate, because that's probably the worst game they've played since Love Street, to be fair. So we're kind of lucky to give away with a point. But then again, when you go 1-0 up at Ibrox, you should be seeing the game out and whatever. But when you get decisions like that, you think to yourself, do you know what I mean? So
I think you might be a wee bit.
That is what it is.
I think you're a bit harsh on your own team there, Jerry, because you say when they go 1-0 at Ibrox, you should see it out. They went 1-0 at Ibrox after 2 minutes. And the game,
it was about 4.5, but I take your point.
Well, the game lasted 97 minutes in total. So I do think it's a great point for Celtic, one that they did not look like getting, and that's why I keep on using the description. It's a psychological kick in the teeth for Michael Beale and for Rangers and the players and fans, because they thought they had it wrapped up. James Sands come on, I'm sure, because Michael Beale thought, we'll just hold this, we've got them here, and it didn't work out that way. And that's to Celtic's credit, and the mantra came true again: we never stop.
I mean, Gordon, I've showed you that clip. That front angle's rubbish. You just can't tell if that. Well, I can't anyway. You can't tell if that hits Goldson's foot from that front angle. Now the referees in the VAR room, they'll have, you would imagine, they'll have seen different angles. Can you tell from that one?
No, Mark and I have both looked at it about 3 or 4 times. That just showed you how difficult it is to get these big calls correct. When I look at the overall game, I think a point a piece as a fair. I don't think it was a classic, but it's still the excitement of a Rangers and Celtic game. Rangers fans will be disappointed because they thought they had that 3 points, but you're up against a Celtic team that just keep going and keep going and keep going, and the quality they've got, all they needed was one. And I think Postecoglou will be walking out there a very, very happy Celtic manager, because there's no damage, another game out the road, and 9 points plus 20 goals, I think, goal difference. He ain't coming back from that.
Yeah, I mean, Jerry takes it, if you like, on the chin. He says, fine, still 9 points. Thinks Celtic should have seen it out. Mark, how do you view it?
Look, I think same as the guys, Ange Postecoglou and the Celtic players will go away happy. I've been there before. When you leave Ibrox, even if you are the superior team, but you still come away with a point and you think, okay, job done. Particularly when you've got a lead like Celtic and you don't have to go forcing things. Now, I just keep going back to Postecoglou's standards and what he sets. He wants his team to play the same way against all opposition and play to a certain standard, and I think Celtic fell below that today. Now, I have to give him huge credit though, because I'd said a couple of weeks ago, the mentality of this team is as good as I've seen in a Celtic side, that they keep going to the end. And Celtic, have always been linked with late goals, even in my time, but this team are something special.
Jim Duffy, you're in the stadium and you're you're freezing by now. My apologies. You'll be blissfully unaware of this stuff at times, Jim. That's VAR. There are ways that VAR is, in some respects, it's a television sport.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned there, Gordon, that the fact is it could have flicked off someone's foot or another part of his body, which obviously, as I said, that would say it. Another thing is, if Willie Collum doesn't think it's a clear and obvious, as you mentioned, then he doesn't have to ask the referee. If he looks at it and says it's not a penalty, he just tells John Beaton it's not a penalty and he goes on. It doesn't have to go to the monitor. It's only if he thinks there's an error he would then send John Beaton. But let's take all that in consideration. We've said before, there's 100 penalties a year at every level that we all debate that they're never penalties. Just from your description, I would say that if it was a free kick, for instance, you see someone jumping up and putting their hand in front of their chest, if that hits their hand in, that would definitely be given as a penalty. So it doesn't always have to be away from the body. Listen, there are very debatable calls when it comes to handball, that's for sure.
Before we send you on your way, just overall, is it quite a simple big picture analysis, Jim, that Celtic just take that point and move on and are still 9 points clear and it's a huge gap for Rangers? Is it as simple as that?
Yeah, I think pretty much so, because Celtic's form over the course of the season is immense, so they're going to have little dips in performances now and again. You can't be brilliant every single game, but when you're not at your best and you go to your biggest rivals and still come away with a point and still keep the differential the same, then you can't be too unhappy. I mean, obviously I haven't heard the interviews from Ange Postecoglou yet or Michael Beale, but I think that when you go away to any of your rivals, I'm sure if you ask Lee Johnson, they would take a point, or these kind of guys, of course they would absolutely bite the hand off you. So from Celtic's point of view, nowhere near their best in terms of performance, but still managed to get a positive result. From Rangers' point of view, a marked improvement in the second half, but still not good enough to beat a Celtic team who were below their normal levels. So there was an opportunity missed there from Rangers, and I think Rangers have got the more work to do than Celtic have. Celtic have continued to do their business, have got more sides. I think we haven't even mentioned Alistair Johnson, his debut, nice and steady, nothing out of the ordinary. Could have done a little bit better against Ryan Kent. He shifted it quick to his right foot, not so sure, but overall a nice steady debut. And Celtic, I said, have brought players in early to compete for places. I think Michael Beale's going to have a busy January and an even busier summer.
Good man, Jim Duffy, thank you. Get up the road, get that cold cleaned up.
Yeah, try my best.
Good man, that's Jim Duffy there at Ibrox, having enjoyed a 4-goal thriller. Ben Williamson, on loan at Dundee from Rangers, has been sent off 30 minutes in, and they're 2-0 down at home to Arbroath. So that's a disastrous start. Right, what have we got here? We've had a big chance for Kevin Van Veen, but it's saved after a Shamal George mistake. Sibic had the ball. Right, strap yourselves in. Ready for this? Follow me now if you can. Sibic has the ball in the net. Kevin Clancy gives a foul the other way, but it might have been a penalty to Hearts. So VAR is going to check the penalty to Hearts.
Help me.
And by the way, don't even start me on Motherwell earlier on, because Motherwell's official explanation is that after Liam Kelly saves the penalty, a Motherwell player handballs it, right, and the penalty's given, but other people just seem to think it was just simply off the line by Liam Kelly. It was off his line. They take it again, and this opens up another can of worms, Hugh. It's about the level of communication. You're at Livy, there's no big screens, stadium announcer's trying his best to tell you, and the level of communication, fans are a bit in the dark, media are in the dark.
This is not our problem alone. I watched Brighton against Arsenal with my grandson, Brighton season ticket holder, and Brighton thought they'd made the score 4-3 with 6 minutes to go, and it was given offside after VAR had found half an elbow to be offside. And I just think, no, we're overcomplicating our game, whether it's English football, Scottish football, whoever's football. And you've already described to us incidents that are taking place that are beyond understanding.
It's the thing, and you know what, Gordon, on that, we are primitive in some areas of technology, right? There's no big screen at Livy, and obviously some of the big fancy grounds round about will have big screens. But see, to be honest, to be fair, see, even when there is a big screen, as far as I can think, all the information you get really is checking penalty, checking offside. You don't get. And that's why it is frustrating for fans. But as Hugh says, it's not just us. You don't get this big that's the problem with VAR. You don't get this big explanation to say, oh, we're checking to see if this player handled this. You get minimal information. And I mean, this Hearts one is
it's been going on for a while.
This is why I do have a level of sympathy, because there is layers to this, right? Because they're checking an offside, but you then need to check prior to that. They're now checking if there was a handball by Hibs, so you're kind of checking. You need to do that in that order, because if it's offside, then the play
looks offside,
can't continue.
But then handball comes after it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And do you know what? Kevin Clancy goes to the monitor.
No, that's a penalty.
We probably are looking at a Hearts penalty here. Hope I've not sent you all to sleep. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so sorry Gordon, how does that work then? Because offside is before the penalty. Cibic's in an offside position, it then rebounds out.
But is he?
Certainly looked like
so
it.
Firstly, you have to establish that. Then you would have to establish, but is it the same phase of play? Is it the same attacking phase of play? Did Hibs have controlled possession? Did Hibs have the chance to clear it? Did the attacking phase of play restart? So it's alright for us to say this is a joke, it takes too long. But guess what? See, everyone that wanted perfection in the rules, this is what you asked for.
But okay, we accept that you can't get perfection, but have we now overcomplicated the game to the extent that we are going to put people off the game?
I think if you're a fan there and you're watching it, you do.
That's the thing. What worldwide you mean?
Yeah,
that's the thing. That's
100%.
That was always the criticism of VAR. We're just catching up.
Right, but if you had the opportunity now, would you get back to the old ways of refereeing? And taking the decision?
I know. I still like the
that?
drama. I just don't like the time and the lack of information in the stands. But I don't know if we'll ever get away with that. I think what you've got to bear
in mind, this is human nature, and I'm no psychologist, but you're remembering the long checks and you're remembering the supposed controversies. If you go back to before, how many offside goals are going to stand incorrectly and vice versa? You know, it has cleared up a lot of those, but you don't remember them because they're bread and butter. And you remember all that.
I think in the long run you get more right than you do wrong.
Well, you do the stats back that up.
Yeah, of course you do, and it gives listen, these guys in the middle who were taking criticism game after game after game, they're delighted with it, Gordon. It helps them. Yes, they still come in for a bit of criticism, but at least he's getting a bit of help.
Penalty Hearts after all that. Now it is a long check. It was that's not to say that it can't be streamlined. I'm not for a second suggesting that. It's just the nature of the beast to an extent, though. So it is going to be a penalty Hearts.
Any card for Bashiri involved in that? He's the one that handballs it.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Almost on the line. Almost you would call it a good save.
So Lauren, yellow for Bashir. So Lauren Shankland will look for a double here. He's been a very, and I don't mean to do a Hugh Keevins on him here, the very reliable penalty taker. I mean, Ross Ogilvie's telling me both VAR checks Ibrox today said on the screen, VAR check potential penalty handball. I get that, Ross, but I'm talking about that's not loads of detail, is it? If there's a lot,
No,
if there's a lot that's been going on.
Actually, when the
that's
game went
a
on,
simple one because everybody knows.
Yeah, what's going on there? The one at Ibrox today, because we looked at it when the ref was checking it before we seen the replay, and you thought, was there a handball before it actually fell to Goldson?
Exactly, yeah.
So not a lot of information. The one at
Here comes Lawrence Shankland.
Goal flashes with Clyde Built Home Improvements.
Well, you'd need to be a very understanding football fan to say, well, we got there in the end with the right decision, which I suppose we did. But it does, it kind of that took an age. And anyway, it's a penalty, and Lawrence Shankland converts it. So Hearts 2, Hibs 0.
You now examine the consequences of what's taking place. The captain of Hearts, Lawrence Shankland, is now on a hat-trick. The manager of Hibs, Lee Johnson, is now in deep trouble. And it's turning out to be the kind of afternoon you thought it would be for Hibs. When your luck is out and when your form is poor, this is what happens.
Got one of these.
Goal flashes with Clyde Built Home Improvements.
And Livingston do take the lead this time. Eventually, after that penalty drama earlier, Morgan Boys with a header at the back post. Good time to score. If you're Livy, Stevie Hamill, not good.
Well, particularly when you look at Livy, and Hugh touched on it earlier, the injury problems, suspension problems that they've got, and you then think, oh, fancy your chances here. You've already lost a goal to a penalty that's been disallowed, and then you lose this one to make it 1-0. So, no, not ideal for your side.
To be fair, Gordon, any optimism from Motherwell would be wiped out by the fact that their squad's not in a good place in a number of ways anyway.
No, the Motherwell fans are crying out for recruitment, Gordon, new players in. We did bring a centre half in. I think he's on the bench this afternoon.
By the way, that goal's been checked as well. The second one for the first one for Livy.
Is there funds available for Motherwell to do anything? They've been particularly good at going down south in years gone by and picking up some bargains, but
it's been a mixed bag though. That's the thing. You'll remember the good ones because that's what happens.
But there's a lot of.
But you're probably.
You
just can't get them all right, so can you? You're going to dip into that sort of market. You're never getting them all right.
Graham Alexander, I suppose knew that region. Stevie Hamill, has he got that same pool? Has Alan Burrows got the connections? It's tough, but they need something because they are in free fall at the minute.
David Friel says they are checking it again. They're checking for offside. It's getting ridiculous. At the same time, if it's offside, it's offside.
It's not ridiculous if you're Stevie Hamill.
This is what's ludicrous about it. There we go. Just
because that's the thing. Stevie Hamill's job, or any manager, could depend on that. And you're 2 down from a penalty and an offside goal, and you lose your job.
Goal
then it isn't ridiculous.
There you are. You're fine.
His job's still under threat.
And again, Hugh, there is a human nature to this where at a game like that, every long check that happens, you're more and more beaten down by it because you've had to live through the previous ones.
Yeah.
But at the same time, a check's a check. It's not like you can go, oh, you know what, lads, let's not check this one because we've already had 2 checks and it's annoying everybody.
Yeah.
That's just the nature of it.
I understand that, but Gordon Dale posed the question a few minutes ago. Would you go back to the original ways? I think if you had a nationwide vote, people in Scotland would say yes. Scrap VAR.
Fans,
we'll just go back. Yeah.
Players and management.
Yes.
Not for me.
Not sure.
Not for me. I think, listen, we're still in the infancy here, and we will always go on about decisions being too long or not right. But you mentioned it, Gordon. The majority of them are right.
I think we've got to be not biased to what we feel right now, Hugh, right in this second, because if you bear with me in the hypothetical, it gets to May and we've got a title race that comes down to a goal that's definitely offside and it's given because we don't have VAR. You're not saying that. You're saying the opposite. We need this. So
I think we'll test the long-term effects of VAR because, of course,
I've never been so delighted to interrupt you. My apologies.
Goal flashes with Clyde Built Home Improvements.
Motherwell back on level terms, and it's the only man who tends to score for Motherwell. It's Kevin Van Veen, left out due to illness at Ibrox during the week, and he's back amongst the goals today. It was Shamal George saves it, Van Veen hooks in the volley. We'll probably check it because that's what we do, but there we are. Motherwell appear to be level just before the break. 10 men of Dundee have pulled one back at home to Arbroath, 2-1 down. That could be a big goal for Stevie Hamill.
Yeah, great. Great
all
response.
goals routinely checked?
Oh, yeah, you have to.
Yes.
That's the whole point, isn't it? The last thing you want is a goal that stands for a reason that should have been ruled out. So, but it doesn't take long. That one's checked. That one, sorry, didn't take long. It's checked. On we go.
I mean, how long will this first half take to negotiate?
Quite a while.
Yeah, exactly.
A good game for David. The post, he'll be enjoying that, won't he?
The great irony is that the biggest game of all in this country passed off with one VAR controversy, just one, and one booking. Am I right?
Two, but both in, as far as I can remember, both in stoppage time.
But that's a good thing, I think. I mean, we spent weeks, and yourself, Hugh, was saying VAR, everything will explode on this day with Rangers and Celtic, and the only thing that really disappointed was the actual standard of football on the pitch, not the VAR, nothing else controversial. It was a game of football that fell substandard because of the actual players, not decision making. The Goldson one, okay, bit of a debate over it, but apart from that, it was fine.
Yeah, it was quite a straightforward afternoon. Apart from that, for John Beaton, wasn't it?
Well,
Very strange.
anything.
It took to what, last 10 minutes for the bookings. Starfelt, I think, was the first one. Is it Tillman?
Ryan Jack.
Ryan Jack for Pool. Yeah.
And I mean, as we've said to you, this is the rarest of occasions where I've not seen a single complaint about the penalty that Celtic conceded. Now, we all know that football bias exists, but on days like this, usually there's somebody's spotted something that makes them think it's not a penalty.
Yeah.
I've not seen it yet.
I think the fact that it finished 2-2 would stop some Celtic supporters from complaining about the penalty, because there are no complaints, incidentally, none whatsoever. Carl Starfelt has had the rush of blood, and the challenge is without question a penalty. But the fact that it's 2-2, it keeps everyone quiet a little bit, unless you're a Rangers fan, in which case you think, how close was that? But not close enough.
Right, we're nearly at the end of this first half. Well, that's a lie, isn't it? We're nearly at the 45-minute mark. I don't think many of the games will finish anytime soon, although we've not heard a great deal from Dave Galloway. It's goalless between Aberdeen and Ross County.
Not good.
Yeah, that would be a poor one for Jim. The run he's on in Ross County coming to Pittodrie. Got to say, you couldn't have wished for probably a more simple game to get yourself back up and running. 5 minutes added at Livy.
Yeah, we can understand that because we spent 5 minutes talking about the penalty kicks. But I totally agree with the boys.
Doesn't sound obscene. Actually, it sounds almost like maybe it should have been more.
Yeah. Well, the length of time for the penalty.
I know it was slightly different reasons. They seem to take a stricter approach to actual stoppages in play as well. But we've just come off a World Cup, the absolute top table of world football, where everything's supposed to be bang on, and yet how much extra time, added time, do we have there?
I wondered if that would filter in, and I think I heard that
and
the
four
English
added at Tynecastle.
Yeah, that's fine. But the English Premier League, when they follow up in the old World Cup added time, I quite liked it. I did. No time wasting. Anybody thinking they're getting away with anything that's added on.
And I'd be as frustrated as anyone. I think it does seem a bit strange whether we do get drawn to the drama, because it's not the case everywhere. 1 minute added in Kilmarnock, and they've had a VAR and a sending off. 1 minute, 2 minutes added at Pittodrie. So we'll get certainly one of them first, you would imagine.
I'd be interested to hear the sound of the crowd at Pittodrie if it's 0-0 half time.
Red Shed will not be happy.
No.
Dave will not be happy.
No.
I wonder if Dave gets someone from Dingwall to bring him a wimpy when it's the reverse fixture.
Yeah.
Well,
and then you've got to factor in, is it open today? It's just it's such an emotional.
Oh, a lot of places closed today.
Turmoil.
I was disappointed coming along the road.
I got
Dumbarton Road.
I got sent to a well-known supermarket. I was back in Motherwell actually, Gordon, so you know the one. Yesterday morning, you need to get an extensive list of ingredients because we're making dessert for New Year's dinner, so you need to get there. And I walked right up to the front door before realising it was shut.
It was shut.
But it was due to open it, I think, at midday, and I was just a couple of hours early.
Disaster.
Disaster.
I went for my dinner at a supermarket and it was closed. I went for a steak pie and maybe left it a bit late.
I thought you meant like for your dinner in the canteen.
And it was closed. And yeah, it was closed. I was so disappointed.
Well, I'll tell you what, the wee guy in the Express up the road must have had a field day today with me. I watched him and the good lady get in, open up the shutters. I was sitting there 7:30, ready to get in the shop. lights on, everything, runs over. Just as they're about to walk in, locked it again,
Quite
walked
right.
away.
Who opens at 7:30? It was obviously 8 o'clock. Wait your turn. Anyway, it's half time at Kilmarnock. Here's Fraser Wishart.
It is half time and it's goalless. Kilmarnock 0, St Mirren 0. Not exactly a classic, a real scrappy 45 minutes, but St Mirren will be fairly happy because they've had 10 men since the 7th minute when Ethan Erhon was shown a straight red card. But throughout the 45, Saints been very comfortable indeed. Really scrappy from the kick-off. It suddenly exploded in that 7th minute. Ash Taylor on the right hand side was waiting to take a throw in. Then off the ball, Rory McKenzie went down. I didn't see it, referee Grant Irvin did, and he sent off Ethan Erhon. He was indicating it was an elbow. VAR Gavin Duncan, the referee there, confirmed, and Ethan Erhon trudged off to give his side a real uphill battle. It was 13 minutes till either side even get close to each other's goals. Liam Polworth, 25-yard shot, struck it really well, but straight at Trevor Carson. And in the 15th minute, Saints made that tactical change. Alex Gogic on for Eamon Brophy. The striker trudged off slowly, been out of the team for a long time, only get his chance today because Ayunga was injured. He was not a happy man at all, and as you expect, Kelly began to dominate possession. Dan Armstrong getting plenty of the ball on the right hand side, but he continually was cutting back onto his left foot, trying the in-swinging crosses. They were dealt with easily by the tall St Mirren defence. Then good play on the right hand side. Lewis Mayo with a pass inside, dummied well by Scott Robinson. Blair Alston running onto the ball, 18 yards out, fierce shot, and it was turned away well by Trevor Carson, high to his left hand side. Then at the other end, Keanu Bacchus had his head in his hands. He knew he should have done better. The ball dropped really nicely to him 20 yards out. He had time to set himself, but he volleyed wide. I mean, he should have really hit the target. But other than that, very, very few chances. St Mirren uncomfortable, dropping off, allowing Kilmarnock the ball, defending deep. Kilmarnock not able to create much, and Saints really dangerous, and once or twice almost getting through on the break, the likes of Kilty and Main and Bacchus. And it's Kelly fans who are becoming increasingly frustrated towards half time as they've hardly threatened St Mirren's goal. And the question for Derek McInnes now is, I think you'll need to make changes to get in behind the St Mirren defence. They need to move the ball much, much quicker and get some width into the game, because at the moment St Mirren's defence are dealing with everything very comfortably, even though they're down to 10 men. Half time at Rugby Park, Kilmarnock 0, St Mirren 0.
Montagno's down getting treatment for Livy, so this could be an extra long delay at the end of this one. Let's go to Pittodrie and speak to Dave Galloway.
Half-time Aberdeen 0, Ross County 0. Aberdeen took an early grip of play without seriously threatening. The ref said no penalty when Ramirez went down in the box. Majowski was well off target with a turn and shot, and Majowski set up Ramirez, who drove straight at Laidlaw. The hosts really should have taken the lead when Duke's cross was fielded by Laidlaw. The loose ball fell to Kennedy just a few yards out, but Iakoviti cleared Kennedy's effort off the line. Ross County offering very little in attack in this first half. White did have a bit of a chance, but slipped as he turned and the ball went wide. Mostly one-way traffic, in fact almost exclusively one-way traffic. Kennedy curled one in from long range, but it was comfortably saved. And then in first half injury time, Kennedy's ball in was deflected into Laidlaw's arms. For all the Dons' good play, and there has been plenty of it box to box, the visiting goalie hasn't had a really serious save to make. It's Aberdeen 0, Ross County 0.
It's half time at Tynecastle, so we'll go there in a moment or two. Just waiting on Gabriel. Aberdeen, Hugh, it doesn't sound like the fans are furious. It's only halfway through a game, for goodness sake, but I'm sure Jim Goodwin will be looking for an upturn in that second half. You look at the run that they've been on, this comes into the category of a much more so-called winnable fixture that they'll be trying to go and get all 3 points on at home against the team bottom of the league.
Well, some things are just unacceptable to fans, and the Aberdeen fans would find 5 defeats in a row unacceptable, and it puts pressure on a good man. But it's a managerial life that Jim Goodwin shows and Lee Johnson shows. You're putting pressure on yourself in a results driven business if the results aren't there.
Well, apparently a mixture of boos and applause at half time, which is quite something.
The people who were applauding the ones who were booing.
We've got two other half times to bring you from the Premiership. We'll do them next.
Clyde One Super Scoreboard with Call Robert Accident Repair. They'll collect, repair and deliver your vehicle, providing a hassle-free service. Reaction from 5 on the open line. This is Clyde One Super Scoreboard.
After an action-packed first half with various stoppages, it is half-time at the Tony Macaroni Arena. David Friel.
Yeah, half-time Gordon Livingston 1, Motherwell 1. I think action-packed's an understatement. It's all square. after Kevin Van Veen cancelled out Morgan Boy's opener. But everyone here, including the Livy fans and the Motherwell fans, is talking about VAR and a double penalty save from Liam Kelly. We'll just go straight to that. Livingston were awarded the spot kick in 14 minutes. It all seemed pretty straightforward. Christian Montano's shot was handled by the Killarney. There weren't that many complaints really. Then came the drama. Nicky Devlin took it, Liam Kelly saved, and the Livy captain bundled in the rebound. Livy celebrated, both teams returned to their halves. They'd set up to restart. It looks as if there was no issues at all. Then everyone noticed referee David Monroe was actually checking something, and after a lengthy delay he ordered a retake. Why? Well, we don't really know. We don't have pictures here. There was no communication really, but I'm told from someone who has seen the footage that Liam Kelly was off his line and that Nicky Devlin potentially handled when scoring. So the upshot of that was a retaken penalty. Nicky Devlin went the same way, so did Liam Kelly, and the Motherwell keeper made the same save again. It was exactly the same penalty. Incredible stuff here. Overall it's been pretty even. Both sides have had chances. Livy took one in 39 minutes from Stephen Kelly's deep free kick. Decent free kick, terrible marking from Motherwell. Morgan Boyce unmarked at the back post and he nodded in. But to be fair to Motherwell, they have had chances and they fought back well and got equalised on 42 minutes. Sean Gost, a shot saved by Shamal Jaws from close range. But Kevin Van Veen, who has looked really good today, was in the right place to hook in a volley. Motherwell could have gone 2-1 up just before the break. Sean Goss, great free kick in. Sondre Solholm completely unmarked, but he volleyed over the bar. So half time, Livingston 1, Motherwell 1. This one's in the balance.
Some technical difficulties at Tynecastle. What I can tell you is that Hearts lead by 2-0 at the break. 2 Lawrence Shanklin goals. The first one, not great defending by Hibs. Josh Ginnelly's effort saved, and there was Shanklin showing those strikers' instincts to just poke the ball home on the rebound. The second one was a whole lot more confusing. Hearts did have the ball in the back of the net. Sibic, they had to check if it was offside, and it wasn't, presumably, or they thought it was a different attacking phase of play, because when the ball then hits Rocky Bashiri in the hand, a penalty was given to Hearts, and the same man in the same outcome, Lawrence Shankland, in unbelievable goal scoring form recently. Those his 17th and 18th of the season, and if you look at his last 4 games, I think that's his 6th goal in the last 4 games. So he's in red hot goal scoring form, and Hearts lead at the break. Okay, the second half's are next, and because this is a bit different today with the big match in Glasgow earlier, the phone lines are open. What did you make of it? 01419511025. We'll speak to you next.
Clyde One Super Scoreboard with Carl Robert Accident Repair. Fault and non-fault insurance specialist. Robert will even pay your excess. The team with the biggest support in Glasgow and the West. This is Clyde One Super Scoreboard.
Hugh Keevins, Mark Wilson, Gordon Daziel are in the studio. We've got the top team round the grounds, and it is an extremely busy show, so bear with us, because we've got 3 o'clock games that are sitting at a half-time break at the moment, so we'll keep you up to speed on what's happening there. We're still getting over Rangers 2, Celtic 2, looking back on the big talking points with you on the phones. We've opened the phone lines early on that one, on 01419511025. Still to bring you what the manager said as well, so stay tuned for that. And we're up and running on a new calendar year in Scottish football, Hugh Keevins.
Yeah, very interesting start it was too. Celtic scoring from an Alfredo Morelos mistake, a James Tavernier mistake, but a tremendous finish from Daziel, and then at the start of the second half finding themselves after 7 chaotic minutes 2-1 behind, but on a day when they were not playing particularly well, they finished particularly well. Kyogo, first goal against Rangers since joining Celtic, and it gets Ange Postecoglou a very handy point, which maintains the 9-point differential, and with the goal difference as high as it is, effectively 10 points in front Celtic.
01419511025. We are digesting the 3 o'clock games as well at Gordon Daziel, and you have to say the biggest scoreline is that one in the Edinburgh derby. Huge game. Hearts leading Hibs by 2-0.
Yeah, it doesn't look good for Lee Johnson. Obviously went into that game a poor run of results. He got off the hook a little bit with his victory against Livingston at home, but apart from that, the results have been poor. You're playing your fiercest rivals, you're hoping for a big performance, you're trailing 2-0. They need a big improvement in the second half. The next goal's got to be so important at Tynecastle. The other one as well is obviously Jim Goodwin coming a bit for a bit of criticism at Pittodrie. 0-0 against the bottom of the league. he'll be looking for a win up there and get his season going again.
I did say the phone lines were open, so let's go to Frank, who's a Celtic fan from Hamilton. What's on your mind tonight, Frank?
Hello, good afternoon, panel.
Hello.
Hi, obviously I'm a Celtic fan. Just to talk a couple of points. I heard you saying earlier that nobody had complained about the Rangers penalty. Right, so I've watched it several times. I watched it on Sky, obviously, today. And you actually see Sakala stands in Starfelt's ankle and then goes down and does the splits. And they got a penalty. And I've just watched it on Twitter there. You actually see John Beaton mouthing, what is it he said? It's no my decision. Right, you actually see it. If you've seen, I don't know if you've seen it on Twitter.
Are you sure that? Are you sure that's not the clip from when Goldson handballs it and there's the VAR check? Are you sure that's not when it pans to John Beaton?
I may stand corrected, but my point is, it's never a penalty kick, right? So my point is, why did they not go to VAR and look at it? Right, that's my point.
Okay, well, Mark Wilson, is Frank right? Were Rangers given a wrongly awarded penalty? Were Celtic hard done by?
No, I can't agree with Frank. I thought at the time when I seen Starfelt charging over, I say it again, there was one or two things going to happen. He was going to get it spot on and the ball was going to go one way, or it was a penalty kick. Now I think Sakala just checked back. I think then Starfelt takes Sakala's standing leg away and he gave the referee an easy decision, in my opinion. I thought it was clear as anything. Frank obviously sees a different thing from me, but I would have again stand here and say I would have loved it to be the wrong decision. But for me, John Beaton got that one right.
Where is the wrong decision is the centre half for Celtic making the tackle in the box scoring. He doesn't need to go to ground. Sakala is a forward player. You're in that position, you're hoping that centre half's going to do what Starfelt done. You're hoping he's got to go to ground and slide in. The minute that happens, the referee deems that as a penalty kick, and I don't think there's a lot of people going to argue with it.
On this day, whenever Celtic play Rangers or Rangers play Celtic, fans see what they want to see.
So you don't agree that Frank said? Frank says that Starfelt's foot's down, and then Sakala stands on him.
No, that simply does not happen.
I mean, on one hand, I see where Frank's coming from in the sense that Sakala's foot ends up on Starfelt on top of it, but I don't know what is that. Does that mean it's not a penalty?
Well, go back to it. We've got a former Celtic fullback here telling you that in his estimation it is 100% correct.
He might be talking I'm
No,
thanks, Gordon.
I'm just saying it's possible just because you're a former Celtic fullback.
I go back to the point. People see what they want to see, and it's a penalty every day of the week.
And that's the thing, Gordon. I mean, we've got to call it the way we see it. Now, Frank's entitled to his opinion. Of course he is. If he sees it that way, then he will be bewildered why a penalty kick was given. If I saw Sakala stand in Starfelt's foot, I'd be standing here the same as Frank. But I just blatantly didn't see that at all.
Frank?
Hugh, listen, watch it again, right? And the most biased guy on Sky Television, who's actually toned it down the last couple of games, Chris Boyd said it's not a penalty. So I take what you want from that. He said,
well, I'll tell you what I take from that. I take absolutely nothing from that, because you asked me for my opinion. I'm not interested in Chris Boyd's opinion. I'm giving you the evidence of my eyes. Good luck to Chris Boyd if that's what he thinks, but that is not what I saw.
And there we are, I stand corrected. I didn't give it long enough because I said earlier we haven't had any complaints yet. But John's on Twitter, he says, was it a tackle or is he trying to block the shot from the attacker so the striker then stands on him as the defender doesn't make a challenge?
I don't know what that means. You need to clear that up for me. I mean, Starfelt, look, let's be right here. Starfelt gets it all wrong. Juranovic in the first instance gets it wrong. Sakala does what any good striker will do and anticipate Starfelt coming in to make the challenge. Your centre half does not need to charge into something that quick in the box and make a sliding challenge, and he gets it wrong. He unfortunately, for a Celtic point of view, catches Sakala's foot, and it's as clear as that for me. It's a penalty kick. Now, if that was the other side, if Jota had jinked inside Tavernier or a Goldson and that was a contact, I bet you Frank would be on this phone saying that is a Stonewall penalty.
And I think the reaction of the players tell it all as well, Gordon. I didn't see Starfelt getting up and really crying wolf that was not a penalty kick. I agree with Mark. I don't think as a centre back, you should be making that tackle and put yourself in the position, and I think he gives the referee an easy decision to make.
We're agreeing to disagree. Thank you, Frank, from Hamilton. 01419511025. Back underway in the second halves of the games around, and still plenty of work to be done. Livy Motherwell's poised at 1 each. St Johnstone, Dundee United, Aberdeen, Ross County, Killie St Mirren all goalless as well, Hugh.
My focus is on Tynecastle and Pittodrie. If 2-0 for Hearts becomes 3-4, Lee Johnson's in a bit of bother. It's going to finish in a Hearts win anyway, so that's 9 defeats in 11 games for Lee Johnson. At Pittodrie, 0-0 at half time is unsatisfactory. If it's 0-0 at full time, that's even more unsatisfactory. Or if Ross County were to get a goal, Jim Goodwin would be very much in trouble.
Oh, it must be a big day of Scottish football, because we're now doing the still images of tackles routine. I must admit, that's always been a bit of a bugbear of mine.
You think that would grow a bit old now, that people realise that still images don't paint an accurate picture of a tackle? Because you could take any still image of any tackle and say, there you go, the studs are up, or there you go, that proves there's contact elsewhere. That still image, or whatever still image you're looking at, Gordon, could be taken from any time in the whole tackle.
Livy have made a change. Montagno was he in the Wars earlier on, I think. He's off. Bradley is on for Livy. Remember, that one is level. We had major VAR drama. Don't get me wrong, you won't hear about it as much as you hear about stuff from Ibrox earlier on. That's the supply and demand nature of it all. But there was quite a lot to digest from Livy earlier on, and it's 1-1 now there in that one. Do you know what we've not done yet? Hear from the managers.
Good.
Should we?
Yes.
I think we possibly should. Let's do Michael Beale first up then.
We give away 2 really bad goals in a game where we've we started the game 4 or 5 minutes really well. We give away a terrible goal. Everyone can see that. I thought the boy took it really well, but for us, it's one of them things I sat here and spoke about in midweek, unopposed turnovers. It took us 15 to 20 minutes to shake that off, I thought. And then I thought from 30 minutes onwards, we've been decent in the game. Alan's not had much to do. We had 2 big opportunities with Alfredo. Big chance with Ryan Kent. So at half time, it was more about belief. I wanted to show much more quality with the ball. I thought we were turning the ball over far too cheaply, and it was too obvious. It was clear to everyone that Sakala's pace was going to cause them some problems, but we didn't have to be so obvious in how we went there. We needed to make a few more passes. We needed a big moment to make up for the mistake. We got that. We got our noses in front. We were good value for that after that. I thought we were winning more duels. We were staying with the ball more. We have a chance to go 3-1 with Malik. So on the day, the chances were with us. We've conceded a really bad second goal. First time in the game where we stopped doing what I'd asked them to do defensively, and we were following runners the wrong way rather than getting up to the ball. So listen, it's disappointing because we were 2 or 3 minutes away from winning the game. There was a lot of things in the performance I needed to see. We did a lot of really, really good things today. We're no further away than what we were 5 games in terms of the points. The points are the same. There's 18 games to play. It's Celtics to throw away in terms of the league. But in terms of our mentality and where we are, I think we're 1 or 2 steps ahead of where we were 5 weeks ago. But we need to be another 10 more.
I think that's an honest assessment. It's Celtics to throw away, and Celtic won't throw it away. There's too great a gap between the teams, and too great a gap in terms of points. So Celtic will win the league, and Michael Beale knows that he has to get other players in, because if it's about belief, that Rangers side doesn't have sufficient belief. Unless you overhaul that team, Celtic will go on and win the league next season and the one after.
I think he's spot on with that assessment, particularly what he says right at the end there, that Rangers he thinks are 4 or 5 steps ahead of what they were when he arrived. However, they need to be 10 steps further down. That's right, because when you look at Celtic had an off day today. Didn't play particularly well. However, they still got out at Ibrox 2-2, and that kind of shows you the difference in quality in the side, where it was needed and substitutions were needed to get something at the game. Ange Postecoglou turned around to his bench and saw so much quality that he brought on and made a difference, and Michael Beale made changes who some Rangers fans are saying did the opposite. So they've got a long way to go. He could take heart out the fact that they didn't lose the game, because I just wonder if Van Bronckhorst was still in charge with a feeling around that squad, if that game would have ended the same way, if Rangers would have managed to scrap themselves back into the game and go one in front, just early in the second half, I wonder if that would have happened.
I'm going to sit on the fence with that, Mark, because I listened to 4 and 5 steps ahead of where we were when he came in. I don't think you will get a better chance to beat Celtic.
Did he specifically mean mentality wise though? Is that what he meant? I think he said that at the end.
I don't think you'll get a better chance than today to beat Celtic. Now let's not be kidded here. Celtic have been absolutely incredible. Postecoglou did have the luxury, and Mark was right to say we're 2-1 down. The worst comes to worst, we're walking out here 6 points ahead with a good goal difference. We can throw in an extra forward, keep Kyogo and go 4-2-4. Whereas Beale then looked at the 2-1 scoreline and thought, I'm happy with what I've got, made negative substitutions, and I do not blame him for it whatsoever, because I'm sure a lot of managers would have said the same to themselves. Look, let's just see out the game. The 3 points is so important, and it sort of backfired on him. There's a lot of work to be done for Michael Beale. He needs a transfer window in. He needs new players. He needs players that's going to play to his style, and then hopefully they can kick on from there.
Dundee, who were 2-0 down at home to Arbroath and down to 10 men, have now equalised a Zach Rudden penalty. What a turnaround that would be. And you never know, maybe the type of result they look back on if it manages to spur them on towards promotion. Let's go to Robert, who's a Rangers fan from Barhead. What did you make of it, Robert? We just heard from the manager.
Yeah, just back to the game there. I'm absolutely frustrated, disappointed, because like all Rangers supporters, I'm quite sure they said we had that game won today. It was there for the taking. There's no two ways about it. Celtic really, were comfortable in the game, and I didn't think Celtic played particularly well. They were just playing like a comfortable level. However, Rangers, for me, at times the game was scrappy, but they had some fantastic chances to win that game. But the one that really concerns me, as much as I do like Michael Beale, because I can see there's a lot more fight in that team now, and was the substitutions. Now, when Celtic were there for the taking today, and I just can't get over these substitutions. Why? Sands, Scott Wright were on. Now, Arfield has been a good substitute. He's been an impact player, and even an unfit Kolach. We were really needing the 3 points today, and I just can't go over why he's sort of surrendered that 2-1. And Hugh was on and said, well, you criticise him if he didn't make the runs or the rest of it. But I'm basing it on today's game, that Celtic were definitely there for the taking today, and he should have really went for that juggler. Arfield should have been on, Cholak should have been on. That game should have really been done and dusted at 3-1, and I had a good feeling for that, Morelos, do you know what, in this fixture, he has done absolutely nothing at all in this fixture, and I've got to say, that was one of his worst performances, and that pass was unbelievable. That sort of that goal really flattered us in 6 minutes or something. We had all the game plan, the tempo going and everything, and that deflated Rangers. And I just don't know what to say. The sitter he missed as well.
Okay, let's go through some of that, because there's a lot there. Start with that latest point. Robert wanted more from Alfredo Morelos today.
I think Rangers have painted themselves into a corner with Alfredo Morelos. I don't think there's anyone that would buy him right now if they had a good look at him. And Rangers are in a position where they have to decide whether to extend his contract, and he has made no attempt to sign an extension to the contract. So that for me, they've got a player there who's not the player he once was, and the player he once was very good, but he's not the same man anymore. And now they have to decide whether it's worthwhile holding on to him.
Clearly the mistake for the first goal, Gordon, is the standout moment.
We said you don't play a blind pass like that and put Tavernier in trouble. Now, as much as you can say Tavernier could have got Morelos out of trouble by defending a bit better, it was a poor pass, especially early on in the game, especially with the nature of the game and how important it was. I thought Morelos offered nothing today, Gordon. I don't think he had great service. I know Robert's talking about you know, the negative substitutions, and he's 100% right with Sands coming on. But I can totally get that. I would have brought Arfield on the pitch at some point, because I think he can do both for me. He can go and work for you. He's an experienced player. He knows his fixtures. He can get you the goal, timing of the run, but he can also defend as well if you need him behind the ball. I thought where his big mistake, if I'm going to be critical of the Rangers manager, was when he took Morelos off. I thought he made the wrong tactical move. I would never have played Sakala through the middle. He can't play there. He was having a good time on the right hand side. I would have kept him there and maybe brought on someone like Cholak. But it's okay after the event, because Michael Beale has went 4 games. He's trying to progress. Rangers fans are liking what they're seeing. He's got 2-1 in his hands. He's got 3 points. So we said it on the show. What do we think will he do? Will he stick or twist here? He obviously went for the stick and it didn't work out for him.
Listen, the points on Morelos is he's nowhere near the player he was for Rangers. His contract is ticking down. I do not think it's worth the X amount of pounds per week to renew his contract. I think his best days at Rangers are behind him. Now the mistake today, I would more blame, people might find this funny, I would more blame Tavernier's involvement and Golson's involvement, because the pass is a poor one. Maeda's touch isn't particularly good, and Tavernier has plenty of time to clear that, and when he doesn't, I think the centre half Connor Goldson can do a lot better than he did. But I get that people will stick in their head Morelos
sort of start there, doesn't it? I mean, I don't think maybe Lundstrom doesn't cover himself in glory immediately before, but
of course the pass
Jim
always looks the worst. But I think when you look at the finer details, the ball is there for Tavernier, who underhits the pass. It's not as if Tavernier's dipped out of a tackle. He's underhit the pass.
Do you take any positives, Robert, in any way?
Yeah, I do. The reason I take the positives from the game is because I thought a lot of fight in the team, and that's something we've been lacking under Gio Van Bronckhorst. You can actually see that his half-time team talk done well, because they were sliding into tackles, they were fighting, and I got some positives for that were actually, because Celtic are, they're a big physical team, and they were definitely matched today. But I don't think Celtic were firing all cylinders today, and it was Rangers' day, and I actually said before the game that we would win the game 2-1. But it's just disappointing. Those little wee things in football, with your substitutions and that, you've got to make that right decision at the time. It was desperate for us to get the 3 points, not like, it's so close. We badly needed the 3 points. I'm talking about you've got to throw the kitchen sink out at the last 10 minutes of the game, and you have got to go for it. You've got to kill that game. You've got no other choice to do that. And again, he's probably going to run back and say, it's all very said and done and dusted now. Perhaps, maybe he would have, said, yeah, I should have went for it. It was mystifying why, again, Arfield didn't come on.
Gordon, he's a favourite of yours.
Yeah.
Would you agree with?
Yes, I would, because I think you can play Arfield in a situation where he'll go and do his work. He'll get behind the ball. He's a good reader of the game. And when Celtic went 4-2-4, Gordon, so they're throwing everything at it. They've got two guys up through the middle, 2 wide guys. You're going to hit them in the counter attack. I think Arfield's the best timing of a runner from midfield. I think he's brilliant at it. He's made a career at it, and it only needed that one. But as I go back to it, I can totally understand the Rangers manager being negative and the Rangers fans being disappointed because they had the 2-1. My big question mark only for the manager was, I couldn't believe Sakala going through the middle. I really thought that took the momentum away from Rangers. I thought Sakala was causing problems down that right hand side. I'd have kept him there, and I'd have brought on an Arfield or a Cholak or whatever it may be, and they could have seen it out. But all credit to Celtic, they had really nothing to lose, in the sense of, what's the worst that can happen? 6 points and a big goal difference. Let's throw in 4 forwards. Let's go after Rangers. Let's see if we can get this point. They walk away from Ibrox very, very happy.
I'm sure he knew Hugh, having been at the club before, but just in case he'd forgotten or didn't know what it was like to be the main man in the firing line, Michael Beale will probably know this evening. Every little detail when you're the man, when you forget being the assistant, when you're the man, and in this fixture, every single decision you make will be scrutinised.
Absolutely. I still think that he believed the points were in the bag, and he was sending on James Sands simply to see the clock run down.
And is that wrong then, based on what Robert's saying, and also the fact that Celtic, it feels like they always score? We mentioned the stat. If you're heading into the last 15 and Celtic need a goal, they tend to get it.
This side, regardless of today's result, regardless of how the league goes, and it will go Celtic's way, this side is taking a long walk towards the end of the pier, because they're going to have to be overhauled, Rangers, because in their current state they will not be above Celtic in the league table. So today's a disappointment for Robert and the other Rangers fans, a source of frustration. However, today's only part of the story. The Rangers team that Michael Beale has, he knows is not good enough, and it's going to require a January window and a summertime window to start sorting it out. But today I think he thought he had the points, put on James Sands, and then Tavernier let him down, Barisic let him down. All of the players who were in the penalty box at the point where the ball falls to Kyogo were all in their own way culpable, and Kyogo took full advantage of the culpability.
Thank you, Robert in Barhead. Let's bring you up to speed on what's happening around the grounds. Motherwell have hit the bar for a second time. Connor Shields, this one tight angle. First one was Van Veen, probably should have scored. Aberdeen have tried to find an opener. Aberdeen, they've made a sub. Johnny Hayes on for Christian Ramirez. McCrory had a shot wide. Livy have made a couple of changes. Omionga, just one, sorry. Omionga on for Bahambula. And I like this story, Mark. I don't know if you're aware of it. So Stephen Bradley has come on for Livingston. He was a sub. He's just been signed on a permanent transfer from Hibs. Young winger. He's come on and he's lighting up the game, according to David Friel, having left Hibs to move to the team who's above Hibs in the league, because he's surplus to requirements at Hibs and can't get a game at Hibs. Football can do that sometimes, I suppose.
I mean, Hibs could certainly be doing with someone to light up their season, because at Tynecastle not going well for them at the minute. And Lee Johnson, if you're a Hibs fan just now, you've got to think, when Lee Johnson came in, have you seen any signs of progression? Got to say no. Long way away. Good sound bites in the press conferences before the matches and sometimes after, but no progression on the pitch. And you can't even blame injuries now, because when you look at it, McGeady's back in the fold, Nesbitt's back in the fold. You know,
McGeady came on, by the way, along with McGuinness, Fish and McCurdy went off.
He'll need to be a combination. Lee Johnson will need to be a combination of Eric Morecambe and William Shakespeare. When this one finishes, if he's got a soundbite that's going to get him out of 9 defeats in 11 games.
The only thing is, Hugh, you just can't keep going down the road of sacking managers, and Hibs have got a terrible record for that. They can't seem to get it right. I think you just need to stick with Lee Johnson and now. I know that results do recognise your job, and if you're not getting them, then you tend to leave the club. But I think it's too early. I think you've just got to ride this one out, because you just can't keep going manager after manager after manager. It does not work. You've got to believe that he's the right man for you, whether it's another transfer window, whether it's end of season, whether it's just getting through everything and then bouncing on from there.
It's true, because at some point you simply cannot do that. By the way, this might not be the point. Hibs fans might say, do that with the next one. But when Sean Maloney left, Ron Gordon specifically said, we cannot keep turning over managers. So at some point you're just going to have to stop.
Yeah, but when it gets to this stage, you made a rod for your own back. Fans will rightly look at it and say, well, why didn't they stick with Sean Maloney? Why jump the gun so quickly? Because we're in a similar or worse position just now. So
I think we've overindulged a bit at Hogmanay or something, because I'm looking at goalless Aberdeen Ross County, goalless Killie St Mirren, goalless St Johnstone Dundee United. This is a new year, for
the
goodness
Killie
sake.
St Mirren one is a bit surprising. St Mirren down to 10 men after 10 minutes or something like that. But Aberdeen Ross County, Jim really needs something to happen.
Just to go back to the Lee Johnson situation, Sean Maloney, if my memory serves me correctly, got 19 games, and Ron Gordon's explanation when he sacked him was that he had seen enough to know that this was not working out. So how does this stand then with Lee Johnson, who's had
Sometimes
19 games?
if you've got the gift of the gab, Hugh, and you say the right things and entertaining, it just sometimes gets you by. I mean, Sean was fairly dry with his post and pre-match interviews, just the type of guy he is, and maybe that just didn't sit right.
There's a result or a scoreline so far from the Scottish Championship. Inverness against Cove Rangers is 6-1 now. I think to Inverness.
Dad said to me before the game when we were looking at the fixtures, who do you think will win that one? And I said I fancy Inverness.
They had a real spell of bad injuries. Was it not? They get beat 6 the other week, a couple of weeks ago, was it not?
A hat-trick for Billy Mackay, still scoring goals.
Good
Amazing,
player.
he loves the old Highlands, didn't he?
Yeah,
Billy?
absolutely.
Good
And
player.
6-1 with half an hour to go.
Well, it's not over.
No, it'll get worse.
Big handball shout from Hibs. So maybe we're not done on the old VAR drama yet. We'll find out what's going to happen there, and what a time it would be. Get yourself back into it if possible. And all that stuff about Lee Johnson suddenly looks a little bit different. A Kelly change a few moments ago as well, by the way. It was more than a few minutes. It was Jordan Jones replacing Blair Alston, as Kilmarnock look to press home their advantage.
They're not even, as far as I can tell, they're not even looking at the alleged handball that Hibs are saying was a penalty.
Behind the scenes they'll be checking it, will they not?
Oh yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Listen, I've got to get to my daughter's birthday party after
And
this.
that also isn't handball, is
No,
it? Hits
never.
Civic on the hip. So
I'd like to get there on the occasion of her birthday.
that is the thing, isn't it? If you're any fan, whether it's TV or going to the game, it just feels different. It just feels wrong, doesn't it? Like deep down, of course, the reasons for bringing it in, people want to. The rules have been sort of tweaked, and it is a lot more pernickety. And then the reason for introducing it here, you're talking about, well, can you be the only league without it? So once it or one of the only leagues, once it gets to that point, it's ridiculous. But if you go way back when VR was just a dream, Hugh, to whoever it was, just wonder, did we strive for something that we didn't need to, or did we need to catch up with other sports that had technology?
I understand that you feel out of step with the rest of the world if you don't have it, and you are accused of being third rate, Mickey Mouse, call it what you will. I just think that all the stuff that's going on today, and stuff that has gone on prior to today, I do appreciate there are problems, teething problems, all the rest of it, but my goodness, we are complicating the game.
Yeah, but again, Gordon, is any of it actually teething problems, or is it? But for a start, like if a ref makes a decision you won't agree with, then it's game on. Argue about that till the cows come home. Kevin, John Beaton, Willie Collum. If you think that's a handball by Connor Goldson, that's never going to go away. That type of debate.
Remember, this is our first season. Of course, there'll be teething problems. There'll be pluses and negatives for it. I think there's more pluses for it because
but that's what I'm saying. Next season, the season at 5 seasons time, they still might not think that was a Connor Goldson handball. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's just down to a matter of opinion. But I think the overall, and the most important thing I keep going back to is our referees who get criticised in this show every single game were desperate for it to come in. They all wanted it. I think most of the clubs wanted it, managers as well. We've got it. Yes, it's got some teething problems, of course it has, but in the long run I think it's a good thing for us.
Yeah, I'm very simple, Mark. I'm a very simple football fan, as I'm sure you can imagine. I just never felt the need for. I never wanted it. See, if you go back, I never felt it was something I needed. But then you hear people saying, you can't have leagues or relegations or whatever decided by really blatant, whether it's a wrong offside call or whatever, and other sports use technology, and why shouldn't football? So I get that. I think
listen, I'm the opposite. I think we did need it. I think too much depends on it. Livelihoods depend on it in football. Other decisions, other sports, maybe not as much as football does. And now we always think being for winning games, but I always think it the opposite. If you lose a game to a blatant offside or something that isn't over the line, and the next day you're sacked and you find yourself not getting back into football again, then how is that fair? In any world, how is that fair? Now, if there's something that we could have brought in to take all that doubt away, then I think we should use it. And there's always going to be arguments, but the fact is, most of the decisions are statistically correct, so it must be right.
Very sensible. Well done. Samuel
Thanks.
has come on for White for Ross County as they try and go for what would be a hugely unpopular 3 points at Pittodrie. We'd certainly hear them then, Hugh, if that was the case at full time.
Aberdeen can't go 5 games in a row beaten. It's just not acceptable. I mean, I do think that they are, to a large extent, a myth now, Aberdeen. They long since ceased to be a club of great importance. They live on past glories, but even they have enough respect for themselves to think that 5 defeats in a row is just not on.
I think he'll come in for a bit of criticism if it's a draw, Hugh.
More than a bit.
I think everybody was looking at that as a home banker today for him.
Queen's Park 2, Partick Thistle 0. Patrick
Big
Jarrett
result,
in
that,
76 minutes. Top of the league, that would send them, I'm sure.
Big
Queen's Park.
result, that. And again, I've said in weeks gone by, I don't get Queen's Park as the old, it's a fairy tale season. I think they should be up there. With infrastructure they have put in place, they should be challenging at the top. So it'll be interesting to see them when they go to their new home. When do they move into that, actually? Next season, maybe? At Lesser
I think
Hampden?
it's to be sooner than that. I think,
Is
but I could
it
be wrong.
before the end of the season? Yeah, I'm sure they're looking forward to that.
Should be a good crowd, but it's through at Oakleview, is that correct? Yeah, that would have been a real bumper crowd if that had been, say, for instance, for Hill.
Bumper crowd.
Do you like that?
Great.
That was old days.
Yeah, he's up to his game.
Bumper crowd here
Bumper
today.
crowd in 2nd of January.
You can tell it's been a busy day of football because actually the nonsense coming from you two has actually been kept at a very manageable level. You know,
This
you've
guy's tired.
not gone off on many, if any, tangents about anything. We had a brief discussion about supermarket opening times, but other than that, I'm telling you, game of the day has to be at Dens Park because Dundee are 2-0 down against Arbroath. They're down to 10 men. They pull it back to 2 each, but Arbroath have added 2 since then, and Arbroath are now 4-2 up. Dale Hilson adding that 4th. What a big result that could be for Dick Campbell.
Dick Campbell, you see, the older you get, the better you get. I think you'll agree.
Sure, something like that.
But no, that's a great, stunning result. Not for Gary Boyer though, but Oney Coyle will be happy with it.
Aberdeen subs Miovski and Clarkson off, Barron and Bizawan on. So Aberdeen do need something.
Now,
Ryan Flynn's come on for Greg Kilty.
The Gordon DL theory comes into play again. Why take off Miovski if you're needing a goal?
And that's two midfield players he's brought on, is that right? Am I correct in that? You worked with the lad.
Bizawan's more he's kind of attacker or winger type.
I always believe that. I always for years thought keep your goal scorer on.
But that's because you were one. Look, we can't just we're going to sleepwalk through every game of football.
I'm delighted you said that and admitted that live on radio. I am so happy. That's made my year.
A low level.
No,
the
difference. So you want a blanket ban on strikers being subbed?
No, I don't.
If they need a goal.
Yeah.
But what if by taking him off you're moving other things around and you become far more attacking?
Yeah, but you're not.
What if he's injured in fact?
Right, okay, I'll accept that. But there's a perfect proof of the pudding this afternoon.
Hold on.
I said that's not how
proof works.
Do not take off Kyogo.
You've had too many puddings.
Do not take off Kyogo. And what happened? He rewarded
You're
him.
right. That
I
is indeed proof that you should never take off a striker.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a good call for you actually. It's one of his better calls today. Keep Kyogo on.
That's why I got to cup
I'm going to give him a bit of credit.
Leagues, Mark.
That's why you've
I've got to cup finals and I won leagues and stuff like that. You don't make these big calls.
Incredible. Anyway, right, Callum Slattery's been booked for a dive in the box. Gordon DL.
A dive in the box.
It's cheating.
No, we don't want to see that.
Hard done by, surely.
We don't want to
stamp that out of the game.
We don't want to see that. Big Marv will be sitting in that dugout.
Don't even start me on
him.
Who was it actually? When he replaced me.
He's got one tracksuit. He's good. Yeah, he's good.
You were preferring him to Mark the other night.
I was preferring anybody. I can't even. I worked with Jim Duffy. I actually preferred Jim as well. But we had some. It was good.
Do you know
what?
what?
It was
It's
a
funny
good,
when
serious conversation.
Yeah, see when you're not here, he acts all serious.
We mixed
Do
the
you?
food,
I says
yeah.
things that he doesn't usually use.
Try
his
to act
words.
up to the old I was a manager and look at me, Marvin, in case.
Well, I've got a lot of
Marv-
feedback. You and Hugh fell on your backside on Friday night without me. So,
Do you know
apart
the worst
from
about it? It's because Marvin's a relative newcomer to the Scottish game. He's got his perfect audience. He's telling Marvin about when he scored in Old Firm games. You know the stuff that people have heard before a million times. Marvin's his perfect audience.
I've got to admit here, right? I've really got to admit, and I know he's not listening. That's good. I struggle with his first name.
I know. Do you know why? Because someone
Does he struggle? I don't know what I've just.
Remember he called him Martin, and then
Aye.
we've got in his head. Listen back. The big guy next to me. That's all he calls him. The big guy next to me was just saying, and the big man there was just honestly.
It's my partner at the side.
I got multiple messages from people saying Gordon Daziel still doesn't know Marvin Bartley's name, and he keeps calling him the big guy next to me.
And by the way, I am first to put my hands up. I am struggling with his first name.
Ooh, here's a big goal.
Goal flashes with Clyde Built Home Improvements.
St Johnstone 0, Dundee United 1 with 9 minutes to go of the 90, and that could be massive because Ross County, well, they're getting held at the moment. Motherwell are getting held above Dundee United, so Dundee United with the chance to move on to 19 and get themselves much closer to relative safety. So Tony Watt hasn't scored a great deal recently. What a good time to get one.
Keep your strikers on the park. Tony Watt does the business. Dundee United's next game at home to Rangers a week. No, not a week. Next Sunday. This is Monday. I think we're all agreed on that.
This is going really well.
Well done, Tony Watt. A bit of a shock that for Callum Davidson, but Dundee United slowly but surely climbing up that table and putting others in bother.
So thought of Tam Court's coming back, I think's kicked him into life, Hugh. And propping him up that leg.
I thought he'd a bit of a cheat coming out with all that stuff.
Well,
you know, he left of his own volition, and then he starts talking about I might come back. Who asked you?
Well put. I'm sure someone must have actually. Kevin Van Veen's tried a Van Basten, but it's miles over, says David Friel. Do you know what? Remember there was a lot of talk about the offside goal and all the drama that followed with the cameras and whatnot when at Fir Park for Celtic.
Yeah.
And then another part of that discussion was what a great goal it was, you know, that got chopped off. That also happened to Van Veen. Do you remember the one at Tynecastle where it is a Van Basten-esque, look, not quite as good obviously, Van Basten-esque volley over Craig Gordon into the corner, and the flag was up. You almost feel like you should get one or two a season, that if the goal's that good, you should just be allowed to stand.
Play your joker.
Brilliant save, Trevor Carson. It was Doidge with a header from 6 yards. He tipped it over at full stretch. Will we get any late drama there? McKinstry's come on for Shields for Motherwell. Wonder about the nervousness there, Gordon, because if you're on a bad run, you go way too livy. I mean, you probably take a point, but at the same time you've got to start winning games. Dundee United are winning games, County have won games, St Johnstone have gone on runs.
That's the thing. If they stay the same and then Motherwell lose a late goal, they fall into 11th corner. And as Mark earlier said, you know, they're just slipping down the table week by week, and you've got to try and stop that somewhere. So you could build in a point today, because I think most people would have fancied Livingston at home today against Motherwell. I've got to be honest with that. So at least it gives you a platform.
If you get there,
it gives you a platform, and probably looking to go off to the worst start with, you know, we thought we'd lost a penalty kick, but it gives you a platform to try and build.
I suppose in a strange way, Mark, you'd rather win games. Here I am really stating the obvious. Some teams don't need to actually get in a habit of drawing some more and grinding them out, turning those narrow defeats and just nicking the odd draw here. It was something that really underpinned Motherwell's poor run earlier in the season, because they'd hardly drawn any, but they've only drawn 3 now, and I think 2 of them have come semi-recently. So
got to pick and choose your battles, Gordon. I think when Stevie Hamill, got the games up in front of him at the Christmas period, and he looked at this one, Livy away, a point from that isn't bad going at all. So I think he'll be pretty pleased if it stays like that.
Problem is
a home game against it.
No, problem is you also get your draw at home to Kilmarnock when you're 2-0 up
Well,
and they're
that's,
down to 10
well,
men.
that's the ones that you
That's not a good
look
draw.
back at. No, that's an awful result, and I picked them as my disappointment of the week.
Your next home games against Hibs, who are falling down as well. They're playing with no confidence whatsoever. So I'm a great believer. Get a point, have a platform, build from there, and all of a sudden, if you can beat Hibs, you go, well, that's 4 out of 6, and 2 difficult games, because Livingston is a difficult game away from home, and then you've got Hibs at home. So I've got us
Right.
4th.
Don't forget, the open line is here. We opened the lines nice and early in light of the big game at Ibrox, so you can keep your calls coming in. And very soon we'll get to traditional open line territory. We'll be, here right up until 6 o'clock. A bit more of a wall-to-wall feel about the calls then. So keep them coming. 01419511025. Better just leave some room for any late drama in the 3 o'clock games at the moment, though. Jay Riley's been sent off for Airdrie, second booking. Elgin have scored probably a late winner at Forfar. Aaron Reid with the goal there.
What a game Airdrie versus Edinburgh. Is Airdrie 2-0 up, then Edinburgh back to 3-2, then
Is it 4-2 now?
4-3.
4-3. Good game. Good game.
Yeah.
End to end.
Unbelievable. Yeah, but you've got to say Hibs really need to get something here at Tynecastle. They are pushing to get back in this game, but Hearts holding on at the minute. You wouldn't say Hearts have created that much in the second half going forward. Hibs probably shaded it, but that's the difference. Hibs had no cutting edge.
It could be a good day for Hibs. If the results stay the same, they're getting a little gap between that 3rd and 4th. So it could be a positive one, and obviously winning the derby as well. They'll be delighted with this performance.
Don't suppose a 0-0 draw at Pittodrie will do much to cheer up the Aberdeen fans, so they'll need to try and find something soon.
1 point in 15, that would be. That's rubbish. So they will not be happy. A goalless draw into the bargain, if that's how it turns out to be, about 10 minutes time, that's just not on.
It just shows you how tight the league is. You're talking about Livingston, Motherwell. Livingston scored the now to get 3 points. They would drop into 4th place. It turns as quickly as that. They're very, very tight.
They wouldn't drop into 4th.
Well, they're going to 4th.
They're 7th at the moment.
Yeah, they're going to 4th.
You don't drop up the way.
Alright, okay, you know what I mean. Sorry, my apologies.
14,356 to be precise at Pittodrie. Most of them won't be happy with what they're seeing so far, albeit as a point.
Well, bear in mind that 14,000 of those will be Aberdeen fans.
Yeah.
And they
over 18,000 at Tynecastle.
Yeah.
Incidentally,
the Aberdeen fans are going to get fed up soon, just reminiscing about the past. They're going to demand a better present.
The one that surprised me is Rugby Park. Who's there? I bet it's Wishart, is it?
Yeah, of course.
It's guaranteed. 10 men, you're thinking, right, okay, his year's going to change. He's got to bring us some excitement. We're going to get goals. What happens? Doesn't happen for him.
You got to send it off nice and early, which you think
but
would
get
have
nothing after that. It's a waste of killie pie.
And what's happened, because Kilmarnock were the masters of going against them being down to 10 men. The shoes on the other foot today. They've not managed to press that home, so finding out that it can work both ways. Mark Wilson.
Yeah, well, St Mirren will be happy, obviously. Stephen Robinson will be happy with his side holding it against Kelly, who have found a decent wee bit of form recently. So it's not easy sometimes playing against 10 men. You need to come up with a different way of playing. Quite often teams will just sit in and make it hard for you. Kelly find that out today.
St Mirren would be happy with a point there,
Of course.
10 men.
Yeah, in the circumstances, Peyton on for Callaghan for Ross County. We should be at the sort of 90-ish minute mark, but then again, in the VAR era, you need to sort of set your clock back a bit, Hugh, from what we're used to.
I think we'll get late drama somewhere. I think we'll get a goal at Pittodrie.
You think so?
Yes.
Which way?
I think when you take
Aberdeen.
I think when you take your strikers off, you're not going to get a goal there. If there's a goal coming there, I'd probably go to I think Aberdeen they've not got that character just now, and they'll be coming under some pressure. Let me tell you, the Aberdeen fans, as you say, turning out in big numbers, will not be happy at all.
If things stay as they are, Aberdeen will be on the same number of points as St Mirren, and St Mirren will have 2 games in hand on them. I mean,
doesn't paint a good picture, that, does it?
How rough do you want things to be?
Well, considering just a couple of weeks ago they were sitting in third and they were beating Rangers, and at that stage everything was looking rosy for Jim after a poor performance against Celtic. Fast forward,
like we did there. I loved Rosie and Jim.
Yeah. Remember Rosie and Jim?
Rosie and Jim.
Oh, on the old canal boat.
Never seen that. I see
No.
you're older than Mark and I, significantly.
I used to love that as well. It was brilliant.
Anyway.
We used to go down this canal barge. Never mind the Aberdeen game. We used to go down, right? And this canal boat.
Hugh's face.
2 puppets. And had, who was the driver again?
Oh, I don't know. My knowledge isn't that great.
The guy. Oh, what
Can
adventures
we
they
just
would get up to.
please assess how confused Hugh Keevins is? Have you ever heard of the children's TV show Rosie and Jim?
Never.
Well,
listen,
I'm
look
with
it up
you
in the
here.
Nokia.
No idea what these guys are talking about.
Fizzgog was the driver.
That's the one. Oh, the adventures they used to get up to.
I'm listening to 2 grown men discussing Rosie and Jim here.
Listen, there'll be loads of people out there going, oh, remember Rosie and Jim.
There are people outside the front door at Pittodrie calling for Jim Goodwood's head, and we're discussing Rosie and Jim.
Great double save from Xander Clark to bring us crashing back down to earth. The crowd on their feet applauding. He is in the fortunate position of being playing football for Hearts, Hugh, obviously, but
He's
trying to fill the gloves left by Craig Gordon can't be easy.
And since taking over from Craig Gordon, it was nice to see photographs of him today. He's looking well, but Xander Clark has made several very, very good stops since coming into goal, and we always wondered, why is he taking so long to find a club? And then he goes to the club where the goalkeeper's the captain and is the best goalkeeper produced by this country for years and years and years. Tragically for Craig Gordon, Xander Clark gets his opportunity, but he has grasped it as goalkeepers should, with both hands.
Yeah, they were both from Kilmaguinness, 12 yards out, down low, and then up to smother the rebound. Really good goalkeeping.
If you're going to get anything, you've got to take these chances. I think Hibs have played particularly well in the second half. I think Lee Johnson would be quite happy with that. But I think you've got to score these sort of chances you're getting, especially when you're under pressure in a derby. Just changes, goals change games, and I think Hibs will rue
nearly a winner for St Mirren. It was Grieve, inches over the bar. I think he came off the bench to try and get that winner, and he's narrowly missed the target. There's been a header easily saved for Aberdeen. There was 4 minutes added there. We're into that now. 5 minutes at Rugby Park. We're into that now. So
what day is it?
What, honestly?
Sorry.
What?
People
heard
that. Finish your day.
I meant to say what day
is it? It's Monday.
What chance have you got, Hugh Keevins?
It's 2nd of January, mate.
What day is it? He just mutters into
I'm
the microphone.
standing here, I'm going from Rosie and Jim to what day is it?
It's been a long day.
Well, what's alarming about it is it's Monday, which means you two are
On
back.
tomorrow,
We're back.
Yeah.
Tuesday night.
We really get it going.
Full time, one of the games of the day, and a big result for Arbroath. Dundee 2, Arbroath 4. Dundee were down to 10 men early on, so that clearly didn't do them any favours, but they had pulled it back to 2-2 despite being down to 10 men, and a big win for Arbroath, who've not enjoyed anywhere near the type of season they did last season. Goncalves for Bruce Anderson as Livy look for it. 7 minutes added on at Tynecastle.
I don't see anything changing there. Right enough.
They could add on 7 days and Hibs still wouldn't score.
Yeah, you wonder if that's the chance that the McGuinness one that Xander Clark saves.
Well, Hibs have had a good few chances in this second half, but it just sums up their season. They'll create some decent opportunities, but no cutting edge, and that just leads to another loss. And listen, Lee Johnson must come under pressure for the Hibs support. If not the chairman, the support certainly, because I'll go back to it, they're not seeing any signs of progression. It is the same week after week. And the games that they've won, by the way, at home, they've all had an element of, maybe no fortune's the right thing, but they've had a few opposition players sent off in early stages of the game that's helped them along their way and made it a whole lot easier for them.
They've been a bit lucky with the fact that they've still got a little bit of points gap there. Under a forum, really, if that continues, they'll end up down the bottom of the league. But they've still got that little gap sitting round about 7th, 8th. But
you look at the column that says games lost, and lost 10 so far. This will be 11 today. Same as Kelly, Motherwell and Dundee United all sit below them. So, and one shot of Ross County if it stays 0-0 at Pittodrie.
Just the 3 added at Livy. It's been obviously a quieter second half for David Friel after quite the VAR action in the first half.
Hibs are 4 points away from Dundee United, who are second bottom. That's how bad the situation is. They're 4 points off second bottom.
Problem is, when you don't get results in the games that people expect you to, if you get a tough run that comes around, because we always talk about this, see, in isolation. In the last couple of games, they've lost at Tynecastle, can happen. Fans won't like it. They've lost at Ibrox, can happen. And Celtic have come and beat them.
Yeah.
Your Hibs don't have any divine right to win those fixtures, but if you've not taken care of the so-called more winnable games, then all those come along, throw in a derby defeat, that's when it all starts to mount up.
I think you have to look at the hard facts rather than say, oh well, Celtic and Rangers, you're not expected to beat them, so on and so forth. They're 4 points off the team who are second bottom of the league.
Full time, St Johnstone 0, Dundee United 1, and that could be a huge result. Mark Wilson.
Yep, big one for United. Found form at the right time, and particularly with other results round about them, then it certainly helps them.
We actually
happy for that. Me and Callum were celebrating.
I cannot believe it.
Full time Pittodrie, Dave Galloway.
Full time Aberdeen 0, Ross County 0. Aberdeen dominated the first half, which was one-way traffic. The Reds said no penalty when Ramirez went down in the box. Majowski set up Ramirez, who drove straight at the keeper, and the hosts really should have taken the lead when Duke's cross was fielded by Laidlaw. The loose ball fell to Kennedy just a few yards out, but Jakubowski cleared Kennedy's effort off the line. Clarkson saw a 30-yarder comfortably saved, and Kennedy looked really bright, curled one in from distance. That too was easily dealt with by the visiting goalie. County nearly snatched the lead in the opening moments of the second half. Clarkson clearing for a corner with White standing ready to pull the trigger, but the Dons were again well in control, and McCrory's drive from outside the box flashed narrowly wide. Majowski was close with a bicycle kick which went across goal but just missed the target. The home side were giving it everything, trying very, very hard, but the visitors were putting bodies on the line heroically to repel the threat. There was an incredible miss from Aberdeen as the clock ticked down. Hayes with the cross, Bissawin from point blank range couldn't connect properly at all, and Laidlaw gratefully gathered. Then in injury time, McCrory burst through but dragged the shot wide when Duke looked very well positioned. That's 4 defeats and 1 draw from 5 games for the Dons, who were loudly booed off the field. Aberdeen 0, Ross County 0.
At full time Kilmarnock, but quickly you've missed one of these.
Goal flashes with Clyde Built Home Improvements.
Hearts 3, Hibs 0. Stephen Humphreys 94 on the clock. A good move from Hearts, slotted through to him. Great pace, great strength to get in between the Hibs defence. Just shrugs off, I think it's Stevenson, and then slots it into the bottom corner. Rounded off with a gritty celebration. Hugh?
Oh yes, I can do that now.
Yeah, I'm sure you can. Let's go to Kilmarnock where it is full time. Fraser?
Yeah, not many celebrations here at Rugby Park. Finished Kilmarnock 0, St Mirren 0. A really frustrating day for Kelly, but a deserved point for St Mirren, who played with 10 men from the 7th minute onwards. Outstanding at the back. Carson, Fraser and Dunn, excellent. And a lone striker, Curtis Main, who was superb and ran himself into the ground. Pretty poor first half. The biggest talking point was a 7th minute red card for Ethan Erhahon, the St Mirren midfielder. Waiting for Ash Taylor to take a throw on the right hand side. Rory McKenzie went down off the ball. I didn't see what happened, but referee Grant Irvin did and showed the red card to Erhahon, and that was confirmed by the VAR referee Gavin Duncan. The closest to goals came with Blair Alston for Kelly. Fierce 20-yard shot turned away by Carson high to his left, and Ken Backus should have hit the target, at least a 20-yard volley when he had time, but he shot wide. It's more exciting in the second. Saints had been comfortable in the first half, but Kelly came out on the front foot. Series of corners, St Mirren excellent defending, and then St Mirren came back into the game. A lovely Backus pass sent Strain clear on the byline. Low cross was kicked away by Walker with Main hovering, and then Backus missed kick from 12 yards from a Main cross, and again the midfield player thinking he should have done better. From then on it was mostly Kilmarnock. Their fans were coming frustrated and vocal. Derek McInnes brought on a couple of substitutes, Jones and Fraser Murray, to make it a 4-2-4 formation. Mayo then came close but driven cross on the right hand side nearly sneaked in at the back post. But little change for Kilmarnock. The cross is far too deep. St Mirren defending really well, but then as game went close to the end, St Mirren dropped deeper and deeper and happier with the point, and it was kept at 0-0 by a brilliant Trevor Carson save with 5 minutes to go. Koscielny did really well on the left hand side. Lovely cross from the byline. It was met by the head of Christian Doidge. Big Singer couldn't have done much more. Perfectly header 6 yards. It was tipped over by Carson at full stretch, but then it's deep into stoppage time. Stephen Robinson had his head in his hands because a sub Alex Grieve hit a shot on the turn from 10 yards. It was inches or good effort by the striker, but just an inch or two over the bar with Sam Walker scrambling. And as much as Kelly tried and pushed for the winner, they couldn't create any clear-cut chances. Good crowd of 7,008 here. It's the 1,400 St Mirren fans to my left-hand side that go home happy with their team's commitment and determination. Full time at Rugby Park, Kilmarnock 0, St Mirren 0.
Full time at Livingston, David Friel.
Full time Gordon Livingston 1, Motherwell 1. This is a really good game full of drama and action. I think both teams will feel they could have won it, should have won it, but a point apiece was probably right in the end, and maybe Davy Martindale and Stevie Hamill will be content enough when they look back on this game. Morgan Boys and Kevin Van Veen traded goals in the first half, but Liam Kelly was the star of the show in a crazy 45 minutes. Motherwell keeper saved 2 Nicky Devlin penalties after VAR ordered the retake of the first. The Livy captain had actually converted the rebound from his first miss and was left stunned as Kelly made the save for the second time. Motherwell had chances, but Livy then opened the scoring in 39 minutes. Stephen Kelly sent a free kick to the back post and Morgan Boys was unmarked to head in, but Motherwell can fight him back, and Kevin Van Veen volleyed in the equaliser in 42 minutes after Shamal George saved from Sean Goss. Sondre Solholm should have made it 2-1 before half time. Kevin Van Veen was in the thick of the action. He then hit the bar 4 minutes into the second half, but Livy's half-time sub Stephen Bradley made a really big impact on his debut. Everything in the second half came through him for Livy. He almost scored with his first real involvement and then teed up Stephen Kelly for a golden chance, but with so much time he fired over the bar. Both sides of the goal after that. Bradley was excellent, but Livy couldn't create that chance. Motherwell hit the bar again through Connor Shields. Callum Slattery was then booked for a dive in the box. Neither team could find the winner, but a really good game. Full time, Livingston 1, Motherwell 1.
Still going at Tynecastle, so what we'll do, give you the full-time story from there next, and that's when we get stuck into the proper open line as well. 01419511025. Calls have been coming in all afternoon, but let's get stuck right in between now and 6 o'clock. What did you make of the game at Ibrox? What did you make of the goals, the mistakes, the controversial incidents, where it leaves the league table, and anything else on this afternoon's game? This is the time and the place to share it, please. We'll get you on if we can next.
Clyde One Super Scoreboard with Call Robert Accident Repair. Accident not your fault? You'll be back on the road within 24 hours. The Clyde One Super Scoreboard podcast with Lucas Volvo. The big event is on now with exclusive discounts on approved used Volvos.